This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our new sponsor, Curaleaf, one of the leading vertically integrated cannabis operators in the U.S., with a total of 35 dispensaries, 12 cultivation sites, and 10 processing facilities. Want to hear a super interesting stat? Curaleaf had just 3 dispensaries at the beginning of 2018. Now they have 35. That's a remarkable achievement, and all the more so considering how well Curaleaf has managed that growth, building their own in-house Curaleaf brand into a trusted provider of medical cannabis to more than 100,000 registered patients. Curaleaf knows that with a footprint as large as theirs, they have a responsibility to make sure their patient customers are educated about all the different things they need to know about medical marijuana and the best way to use it. That's why they invest so many resources back into their educational and research and development programs. You can swing over to Curaleaf.com to read more about this fast-growing cannabis leader and to see where the closest Curaleaf dispensary is to you, because there's no better way to experience the Curaleaf difference than to make a visit to their shops yourself. That's Curaleaf.com, which is spelled Curaleaf. Curaleaf.com. Thanks to everyone over at Curaleaf for supporting today's news. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Thursday, January 10th, 2019, and you're tuned in to episode 641 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Leafly grabs our top spot today with a look at the newly formed Cannabis Caucus, a group of federal lawmakers dedicated to pushing more progressive and liberal marijuana policy reforms. Yesterday, Oregon Congressman Earl Blumenauer, who started up the Congress 2 years ago, announced the inclusion of new caucus co-chairs Representatives Barbara Lee of California, David Joyce of Ohio, and Don Young of Alaska. Representatives Blumenauer and Lee are both Democrats, while Joyce and Young swing from the other side of the aisle, making the caucus nicely bipartisan in makeup. Blumenauer also announced a new proposed piece of legislation called the Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol Act, nicely numbered as H.R. 420, that would remove cannabis from the list of federally controlled substances. Swing over to Leafly for a link to Marijuana Moment, which helpfully posted the full text of H.R. 420 for the lot of us to read. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com and on our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily. Arkansas made some big moves towards rolling out its new medical marijuana program yesterday as the state's Medical Marijuana Commission voted to accept the scoring of dispensary applicants generated by a consulting firm hired for the task. The state has already handed out cultivation licenses, so if all goes according to plan, patients could see open dispensaries up and running by April. The scores for those hundreds of applicants that filed to open up a dispensary have been filtered down to the top scoring 32, with 4 winners named in each of the state's 8 administrative zones. Those winning applicants will be formally notified within the next few days and will then have a week to post and pay all necessary bonds and fees. You can swing over to KUAR for a link to the full list of applicants and their scores. The commission will meet again next month and will take up discussions over how cannabis is to be transported around the state. Congrats to everyone in Arkansas who's worked to make that happen. Massachusetts grabs our final top story today. Yesterday, a subcommittee of the state's Cannabis Advisory Board voted 5-2 to recommend that the state open up the public and social use of cannabis, which would allow businesses like cafes, gyms, and yoga studios to allow their customers to consume marijuana. We've watched over the last few years as a number of cities have tried to enact some kind of legal social cannabis consumption program, with some places in California as well as Denver, Colorado, allowing for a few cafes to open up. But as of yet, there's been no action taken at the state level to let people consume outside their private homes. The Massachusetts Cannabis Control Commission will take up the recommendations of the advisory board before making their own final call on how to regulate the situation. Mass Live has lots of good extra details here, so maybe not another bad one to read in full, especially if you do business in the state. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Curaleaf, one of the leading vertically integrated cannabis operators in the U.S. with a total of 35 dispensaries, 12 cultivation sites, and 10 processing facilities. Curaleaf wants you to live life well, which is why they've developed their popular in-house Curaleaf brand, which has a wide variety of medical cannabis products designed to meet the needs of their patient customers. Since Curaleaf operates in states where vertical integration is mandated, they've had the chance to really hone in on perfecting their products and the retail experience. Open up Curaleaf.com to get a sense of all the right things that Curaleaf does. That's Curaleaf.com, which is spelled Curaleaf. Curaleaf.com. While you're over there, you can also jump in and learn more about their Curaleaf hemp products, all made using hemp-derived CBD, as well as their craft cannabis Yuku line. If you're not familiar with Curaleaf right now, you really need to be. One last time, just open up Curaleaf.com. Big thanks to all the good folks over at Curaleaf, and there are a lot of them, for helping make today's headlines happen. All right, time for the Blitz. Michigan Live is an excellent longer-form piece-up that pulls together the current state of Michigan's medical marijuana program, which has been battered around over the last year or so by state authorities and the way they've chosen to implement a transition into the more regulated medical system mandated by a 2016 law. Regular listeners should well remember the flood of headlines we've covered over the floating deadline imposed by Michigan state regulators last year for when dispensaries needed to be licensed. As the year turned over, there were still more than 70 operating dispensaries which weren't able to secure licensing and have been forced to shut down. Supply in the state is also severely constrained thanks to new regulations barring caregivers from selling to dispensaries. Michigan has one of the largest pools of registered medical marijuana patients in the country, so the fallout from the state's bungled implementation has left tens of thousands without access to their medicine. Another good story to read in full in a day full of good stories to read. This next headline keeps us pegged to Michigan, where a new study published Wednesday by researchers from the University of Michigan suggests that more than half of the state's medical marijuana users report that they've driven a car sometime in the past in a state that they would describe as quote-unquote a little high, while 21% say they've driven while quote-unquote very high. As per usual, when these kinds of studies pop up, authorities jump all over asking the wrong questions. Rather than asking why we don't see carnage on the road caused by medical marijuana users, they focus on the lamentable fact that it's not possible right now to actually quantifiably measure how high a person is. Instead, how about asking if driving while high is actually a problem? Because so far, all the studies point to the fact that it probably isn't. A new survey out of Canada by Statistics Canada shows that newly legal marijuana is 50% more costly than illicit market options. The survey was conducted between October 17th, the day the country flipped over to nationwide adult use, and December 31st, and drew in 385 responses. According to those numbers, legal marijuana is going for an average of $9.70 per gram in dollars Canadian, while illicit market bud is closer to $6.51 per gram. A pair of bills were introduced into Virginia's state legislature on Tuesday that would set up a taxed and regulated adult use legal marijuana sales program if passed. The two different prospective bills were introduced by Democratic delegates Steve Heretic and Lee J. Carver and can be found via links over at Marijuana Moment. Denver, Colorado Mayor Michael Hancock announced yesterday the formation of a new program that will let thousands of people with past marijuana charges on their records wipe them clean. The new program is open to folks with low-level Denver city cannabis charges on their records. Leafly has all the details for this one, as well as a link to the City of Denver's website applications, so I'd forward you that way, especially if you could personally benefit from having a marijuana charge taken off your record. Florida's Miami New Times dives into an important topic with its look at newly released arrest data for Miami police from 2018. As you might have guessed, it's not a very pretty picture when you look at marijuana-related charges. Miami cops have the power to issue tickets to people found with small amounts of marijuana on them, or they can haul them off to jail. According to numbers just published by the Miami-Dade County Department of Corrections, the overwhelming majority of the 10,078 marijuana citations given out for marijuana by Miami cops were to white people, while most of the 2,107 people who were arrested were black. And finally, for today, the New York Times looks at the expanding ranks of high-quality marijuana-focused print publications, with titles like Toke Kitchen, Gossamer, and Broccoli joining the venerable High Times magazine on modern Newsday shelves. If you're into cannabis media and you're listening to this podcast, so there's a good chance of that being true, you might want to open this one up so you can click through to all the links to see if there are any good publications you might want to get yourself. There are a lot of great options out there now. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Curaleaf, and to all of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in, starting your day with marijuana today.
One take, Shay. One take.